This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the Sig Sauer Studios. On the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, guys. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now here in the 6 Hour Studios. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. Of course, it's all being brought to you by X Insurance here on the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. Greg in Dallas, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Here we are, almost a Friday.
Almost a Friday, brother. Tomorrow's your favorite day of the week. We got a lot going on out there, and it's a bad day to be having electrical problems in this studio today, Greg. So I just want to throw this disclaimer out that if that does occur again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be forced to go to a backup. We did have a malicious attack on the studio yesterday. We were not on video. We believe we've got everything fixed, Greg, because we've got everything back up on video, but we're getting some indications that we might be getting hit again. You know, that's an indication that there are people out there that don't like what we talk about.
That's correct.
It happens from time to time, and I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised it hasn't happened before now, to be honest with you, Greg.
Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those things where we get hit from time to time, and sometimes they try extra hard.
Well, what they try to do is they try to bring you down because they don't want you talking about this stuff. And
that's correct.
You know that's who it comes from. Well, I'll tell you what, the only place we're not live today on social media is Facebook, and that's Facebook's issue, not ours. You would think it would be, but it's possible that they know what's going on. You know, sometimes they have safeguards built in. I know our SiteGround server did as well. So we're not live on Facebook for you right now. That's their issue, but we are live on X and we are live on Rumble, and you can search for us over there, and YouTube as well, at AAR Mark on Twitter. You can watch us there on X, formerly known as Twitter. You can catch us on YouTube at Armed American Radio, and you can also catch us on Rumble, Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, all those platforms. Greg, I just did that for you. So sure. Let's go to our guest, Parkland father Ryan Petty. Ryan, welcome to the program, brother. How are you today?
It's good to be with you, Mark, as usual. Lot going on today.
Sadly, there is. And we're talking about Florida State University shooting, ladies and gentlemen. And, personal issue here. I've got a very close friend whose daughter goes to Florida State. I was in communication with him. She was one of the students that was marched out of class, law enforcement, hands in the air today. But she's okay. This stuff hits home, Ryan, and God knows you know that better than anybody else. It's Florida State, Tallahassee, your daughter, Parkland. Evil is real, Ryan. It's out there, and there's a lot of different news breaking out of this on Florida State right now. We'll cover what we can because it is happening in real time. What can you tell us? What do you know?
Well, the reports that I'm seeing right now is that there are 6 injured, confirmed. I know that the shooter was taken into custody. I saw video of him being put into an ambulance and leg chains and cuffs being put on him. So I assume he's alive and being transported to the hospital. 6 injured, 1 critically. There were some reports of a possible second shooter that I have heard. Mm-hmm. I am trying to confirm that right now, but like you, Mark, I've got friends pinging me, interestingly enough, asking me if I can get information from Tallahassee, what's going on. And of course, I've called friends at FDLE. I've called friends at within the Department of Education to see if I can get the latest and greatest news. But unfortunately, it looks like an attacker came onto the campus of Florida State and began indiscriminately shooting. At least that's the video that I saw that was posted on X earlier today.
Yeah, I want to jump over to, again, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting all of this information coming at us from a bunch of different sources right now in real time. It's up on the monitors in the studio. Fox right now on one of my monitors has 6 hurt, 1 in custody after shooting at FSU. And, I put a tweet out just a little bit ago. Ryan, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. This is from Channel 9 WFTV. And let me jump into this in real time. Now, I believe Drudge Report even had this up, as we were getting reports from all of our different sources. But at 1:15 p.m. update, Eyewitness News has learned from law enforcement sources that 5 people are dead and 4 others are injured during an active shooter event at FSU. According to law enforcement, there were 2 shooters involved. One is in custody and the other is dead. WFTV News is working to learn if the shooter is included in the total number of deaths. Channel 9 had crews on the way, and we'll have the latest on this tragic incident on air and online. And that was from an original story from an alert coming from Florida State. That's the only report there that I'm seeing of that. Is that the same report you're seeing with the 2 shooters? Because let me tell you something. If that's true, that changes everything. That's a coordinated, planned attack that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it changes it from the lone wolf scenario, which most of these attacks are perpetrated by a single attacker with some grievance against the school or students at the school. Typically, we find out about those through a process called leakage. Mark, you and I have talked about that before. That's where that attacker shares his or her plans with someone, and there's an opportunity to intervene. If there are 2 attackers, obviously that means there's a 100% chance that somebody else knew about it. Mm-hmm. And it certainly
likely
changes
more
the dynamic.
If there's 2, it's likely more as well.
Yeah, if there's 2, there's 3. So I'm only seeing that in that one place. Everywhere else is reporting, 6 injured, 1 critically. I saw a video of what on X earlier today of what appeared to be a lone gunman with a handgun on campus, right. Indiscriminately shooting at students. So I believe that it's just a single individual at this point, but there's so much we don't know, and it's so early in the investigation.
Yeah, and I want to point out, too, that a report from Drudge. Yes, we still get alerts from Drudge Report. Florida State University shooter opened fire from orange Hummer in terrifying campus attack. I no longer see that Channel 9 report up there, so we're going to go ahead and make a change on that as well. But let me refresh and see if that's still
well,
active.
And Mark, the video I saw, the gunman was walking down the sidewalk on campus and shooting at students that he could see.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much coming in right now. It's just very difficult to confirm. But as it comes in, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about it. But Ryan, what is it? Yeah, I got to go to Giffords here, okay? These are just, when I say there's evil on earth, there just is. And it comes from all sides. And I'm going to put them in that category. What I saw from them, and I've got multiple screens up here. Let me see if I can pull this up real fast. Let me go back to my home page on this. Okay, here's what Giffords puts up at 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time. We can't even tell you yet. There hasn't even been a press conference yet, Ryan. That press conference is scheduled to occur in exactly 17 minutes from now at 30 minutes after the hour. Cops haven't even told us anything yet. Here's Giffords' tweet at 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time today. What Florida doesn't have? Universal background checks, assault weapon restrictions, large capacity magazine bans. What Florida does have? The latest school shooting in America. You want to come out of your chair on this stuff. But these people are sick in their heads. Let me make this clear, ladies and gentlemen. They're coffin surfing. They don't even know the facts. They should shut their mouths. Because here's what we do know, ladies and gentlemen, that FSU is a gun-free zone. That's what we do know. How's that working out for you, Giffords? These people are sick, Ryan. Before anything is out, before there's even a press conference, these people are going after universal background checks and assault weapons restrictions and large capacity magazine bans. One of the reports I've seen was what you saw, pistol and a shotgun. I don't know. How do you respond to this?
These people are disgusting human beings. And let's not forget, these are the people that want to disarm you and me and make Americans defenseless against this kind of a lunatic that would come onto a campus with a firearm and start indiscriminately killing people. They're sick. They never let a tragedy go to waste. They should be ashamed of themselves. In fact, what we should do is, if we had any sense as Americans anymore, we just simply ignore people like this in the public square. They don't belong in the public square. They really should be ignored. We should discount them. Unfortunately, Mark, as you know, they're well funded by their billionaires like Bloomberg, that puts money into this, and others. that believe that somehow we can spread magical fairy dust across the country and all of a sudden be safe. But these are the same people, let's not forget, that want to defund the law enforcement agencies that are the first responders in these situations. And so their worldview, I don't know what world they claim to live in or
their
believe
worldview.
they're living in.
Hold
but
that
it's
thought.
dangerous.
It
It's
is
a
dangerous.
one.
Hold that thought. We're talking with Parkland father Ryan Petty, who sadly knows more about this than you and I, ladies and gentlemen, as we're covering what's unfolding in real time right now. And there will be a press conference in about 14 minutes from now. We'll see if we can catch some of that during the break at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back with Ryan Petty. The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters here in the 6 Hour Studios with you on the Monday through Friday Armed American Radio Daily Defense, being brought to you by X Insurance. And we're sitting here in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. I do want to point out one more time, again, we did sustain a pretty vicious attack here in the studio over the last couple days. There is a possibility, and it's sadly, it's likely, it may happen that if we do, we're going to have to go to a backup, but we were able to get our systems up just as quick as we possibly could today for you. But, you know, hey, Ryan, welcome back in. Some people don't like what we talk about, brother, and pretty much that simple, and I'm guessing that's what it was. Welcome back in, Ryan.
Good to be here, Mark. It's shocking to me. I'm almost at a loss for words. You can hear me stumbling here to try to say what I'm about to say.
Careful.
So many of our fellow, I know, but so many of our fellow Americans are afraid of freedom and liberty that they want to silence those that want to stand up for our rights and for our liberties. And it's shocking.
Oh, they'll attack you. They'll come right after your systems, everything else, you know. I obviously, over the years, we've been very fortunate. We haven't had that problem, I think, maybe one or two times. This one was pretty good. And you wonder who they are and where they are and all that fun stuff, but it happens. What can I tell you? So, Ryan, let's go back to this FSU deal again, because the press conference coming up in about 8 minutes, and we were talking about Giffords. And, you know, I use the word evil. That's a pretty heavy word, okay? But it's Holy Week. Tomorrow's Good Friday. Sunday is Easter. And, you know, it's just, it highlights for me, it points out to me that evil is real. I've lost count how many times I have said that on this radio program over the years. But evil is real. It walks amongst us. You know that more than anybody else that I know personally. You are very well aware of that. Yet again, we see it manifest itself today. And then when we see evil being used for political purposes to advance a political agenda, which in this case is disarming you, that makes me sick to my stomach. It really, truly does. That in and of itself is also a definition of evil. And you tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong, Mark. It's what the founders, I think, understood and why they set up the form of government that they did. Back at the founding of the country, they had seen evil manifest by a totalitarian rule of a king, right? And throughout history, we've lived under authoritarian regimes. We are fortunate as Americans. I don't think we appreciate how fortunate we are to live in a society that is free, mostly free. But there are folks, and again, I've labeled them the Govern Me Harder Coalition, right? These are people on the right and the left that want somebody else to make the difficult decisions. They want somebody else to protect them. They want somebody else to make, quite frankly, their utopian ideal of a society a reality, and you simply can't get there through government. And our founders understood that. There is no way to bring about the utopia that these folks dream of through government on this earth. And so it's just not going to happen. We've seen it fail across the world multiple times, yet here we are, and these folks using tragedy. There's 6 families right now that are hoping their loved ones pull through. I understand one is critical, and hopefully, and our focus should be on those families, what they're going through, praying and supporting them, and also, listening to the authorities and understanding what happened and why it happened. That should be the focus. We can't come with a solution to this until we know what happened and why it happened. Yet these people are there dancing on the grave. Well, I won't say graves this time, but dancing next to the hospital beds of these victims without any knowledge of what's going on. Look, calling for assault weapons ban. It looked like the shooter had a handgun. Now, maybe he had assault weapons. Maybe he had a rifle somewhere else. I don't know. But they're calling for bans on ridiculous things when they don't even know what happened yet. It's just disgusting behavior.
It's sickening. And I'm seeing multiple reports. Again, this is breaking. It's very fluid. But I've seen multiple reports of a shotgun and a handgun. I don't know yet. Again, the WFTV piece, the 9 piece, apparently is no longer up on whatever. I believe it was Drudge Report that was reporting that. But I want to go to Giffords again just 2 hours ago. This was a retweet from Brandon Wolf. Who is Brandon Wolf? Should I know who Brandon Wolf is? Gun violence survivor, national press secretary at HRC. I don't know anything about him. But his tweet was 3 weeks ago, the Florida House voted to repeal gun safety measures, one after the Parkland tragedy. Today, some of the very students whose unimaginable suffering led to that law went through their second school shooting. It's just sick. What's sick is knowing that none of that will stop anything. Now, how do I know that? Because it didn't, and it's in effect. How much more proof do you need, ladies and gentlemen, that it doesn't work? Let me go to Dallas quickly yesterday. You had, I think, 4 or 5 kids shot at a high school yesterday outside of Dallas. Ryan, as you know, you alluded to that earlier today when you and I were talking on the phone. This was a 17-year-old kid who was 100% gun controlled. How's that working out for you? Do they not understand? Of course they understand. They know it. It doesn't matter because it's just one more law. It's one more way to push an agenda until they eventually get what they want, which is your disarmament. And when you see them pushing this political agenda over and above reality, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Parkland bill, all of the Parkland bill is still in effect in Florida. Is that true?
It is in effect, yes.
And what did it do for Florida State?
It did nothing.
What else do we need? Because you know what I'm going to hear from them? I can hear it right now. It's the first step, isn't it? Isn't that what they tell us? This is just the first step. It's a great start, but we need more, right? So I would love to sit down with Gabby Giffords and ask her, can you tell me that one law that would have stopped Florida State? Because your Parkland bill didn't work. Are they foolish enough to believe that their universal background checks will work? This is what they put out. Universal background checks. Do they really believe this, Ryan? Do they really believe what they put in that post on X?
Look, I'm cynical, but I think the leadership of these organizations like Gabby Giffords, and I think they're addicted to the fame and the money raising and the accolades they get from, rich, white, liberal women, in the suburbs. I think they love that, right? And so that's what they go for. None of it's based in reality. None of it is practical, and none of it has been demonstrated to stop any of these attacks. Look, a determined attacker is going to find a way. How many times do I have to point back to New Orleans just a few weeks ago where the guy planted bombs and drove a car through a crowd? Mm-hmm. Hate finds a way. I hate to say it, but hate finds a way. And so they're going to find a way, and none of this is going to stop the attacks. Now, the part of the Parkland bill that these folks deny and don't even act like it doesn't exist, that's what will stop these attacks.
Yeah, that's being armed and having armed presence on school more so than there is. Ryan Petty, Parkland Dad, is going to stick with us for the next segment. Lee Wamsgans from Patriot Mobile is going to be here. We'll talk with her about some of this as well. Don't go away. We'll be right back after the break.
Daniel Defense firearms are guaranteed for life, trusted worldwide, and designed, engineered, and manufactured right here in America. Daniel Defense, freedom, passion, precision.
Yes, Daniel Defense is freedom, passion, and precision. Freedom, passion, and precision. Daniel Defense. Make sure to check out Daniel Defense at danieldefense.com. And the HD9 pistol is the real deal over there. Make sure to check that out. And everything else they have. Get on that email list. I've been telling you to do that for a long time. It's a great email. You'll love it. Welcome back inside the Sig Sauer Studios with me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day on this Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone here at the ranch. And it's all being brought to you by the great X Insurance. You can visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. And I want to throw the disclaimer out that we did experience a pretty vicious malware type attack yesterday. We got hit pretty hard. We were off on video yesterday. It's still kind of out there a little bit. We're a little bit sketchy, but it looks like everything's running good. If it does not, I want to apologize to our guests right now. We may have to drop immediately, which would go to a backup. But right now it looks pretty steady, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Ryan Petty, Parkland father, rejoins us for the segment. Ryan, how are you?
Mark, great to be with you.
And we're also being joined by, and I love this, Patriot Mobile, Lee Wamsgans. Lee, welcome to the program. Love having you guys on the show from Patriot Mobile. There's obviously a lot going on today. We have breaking news, and I do want to give an update during the bottom of the hour break. I can confirm for you, because it's up on the monitors here in the studio, 2 dead at FSU. Neither are students. The shooter is believed to be a student, still yet unidentified. He did get out of a vehicle and open up on the campus, and 5 have been transported. That's what we know so far, and that is breaking right now live at a press conference. Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Ravel is telling America that right this second. Lee, when you hear this, and it drives me crazy. Ryan Petty, of course, knows a little bit about this. Sadly lost his daughter at Parkland in 2018. He and I have been talking about this, and the anti-gun groups, Giffords in particular, is already out there talking about pushing a political agenda. This is the first we've heard, was the breaking news that I just gave you. This is the first press conference we've had, and they're out there using, yet again, tragedy to push a political agenda, none of which would have stopped what happened at FSU or anywhere else for that matter. Lee, does that drive you as crazy as it does me?
It does me. I mean, as a mother, as a human being, my heart goes out to any and all victims of such evil. But the bottom line is you can't legislate good over evil. You can't stop evil by legislation. The most important way to stop an evil person with any weapon, whether it be a vehicle they're driving into a crowd or a stabbing or a gun, is to have, equal force from a good guy on the other side. And we never make light of any of these situations. They're heartbreaking. But we know, we know that the Second Amendment is critical for the good people of America to protect themselves. And there are many, many instances. In fact, Americans use guns defensively between 500,000 and 3 million times a year, but you don't see that on the news because they're using those guns defensively to protect themselves and their families. Stories of defensive gun use rarely make it past local news, if at all, while mass shootings and crimes, horrific crimes like what just happened at FSU, will be in the news for weeks, months, and even years.
You're spot on. Ryan, you how many times have you and I talked about what Lee just mentioned? Defensive gun uses never make national news. And again, I want to point this out, ladies and gentlemen. This is very important. This Brandon Wolf, I don't know who he is, says gun violence survivor on his X profile here. I don't know who he is. If I should, I apologize for not. But he, 2 hours ago, reposted a tweet from somebody by the name of Philip Lewis in Tallahassee talking about the shooting at Florida State, sending unknown number of people to nearby hospitals. And he puts out 3 weeks ago, the Florida House voted to repeal gun safety measures one after the Parkland tragedy. Today, some of the very students whose unimaginable suffering led to that law went through their second school shooting. Does he not see the irony in that? The Parkland bill, which you sat on the commission, Ryan, didn't work. It's almost astonishing to me that they would put this out. Ooh, let me highlight what didn't work again. Ryan?
Yeah, and Brandon Wolf, just for your listeners that may not know, was at the Pulse nightclub when that shooting
Orlando.
happened. In Orlando. So he's a leftist. He's come out of that Pulse nightclub attack, believing that gun control is the solution. Now we know in that instance, gun control was not a solution because he was at a nightclub where alcohol was being served and guns are illegal in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
These is another gun-free zone. So what Brandon, I think he should stay out of the Parkland tragedy. Quite frankly, that's my view. But the problem with his analysis is exactly what you described, and that is that the measures taken in the Parkland bill have done nothing to prevent tragedies like what we saw today at FSU. They don't stop an evil attacker from perpetrating an attack. They just don't work. What works is all the stuff that Brandon wants to ignore or didn't take the time to learn or understand.
Yeah, and Lee, what Ryan is referring to, of course, is the Guardian program that's now in effect in Florida as a result of that Parkland bill. The Florida state legislature is in the process of trying to repeal what clearly didn't work, Lee. I don't understand how you cannot see the irony. I would look at that and go, ooh, I might not want to put that out there publicly, because what passed, which we all espouse, is, oh, yes, we finally got a measure that's going to save lives. That's what they say. Didn't, again. There's a disconnect there. I don't know if it's just me, Lee, but I heard you saying, yeah, you agree.
Yeah, I mean, this has been proven time after time after time. There's a couple of different populations in the gun control lobby. One of them is the true tyrants who want to disable and take us away from being citizens. They want us to be their subjects because they know our only defense against tyranny in America is the Second Amendment. There's this other population that first group calls useful idiots. And these people do not dive deeply into these laws. They do not think of unintended consequences of these laws. And they really have a general paradigm that does not equate to personal responsibility for actions. And they don't believe in good versus evil, and understand that how to fight evil is with good in all situations.
Lee, you talk about good versus evil. Ryan and I were talking about that. And I'm going to read a personal a personal text message that I sent to a very, very close friend of mine today. His name is Johnny. We call him Chucky. That's just been his nickname for years. His real name is John. His beautiful daughter, who I was there when she was born. His daughter and my daughter grew up together in Florida. They've known each other. They are they're the first two friends that have ever met each other when they were born. And I sent him a text today because she goes to Florida State. And I said, Johnny, is Leah all good on campus? And he replied, her class just got escorted out by law enforcement. She's good. Thanks for checking, brother. I said, thank God. And I said, there is evil on this earth, brother. And he said, amen. And here it is, Holy Week. We are literally hours away from Good Friday. And Sunday we'll say he is risen. And evil rears its head, and you just nailed it. People are afraid to admit that it's real. And you cannot take your own personal self-defense seriously, Lee, until you understand and believe that evil is real. It literally can happen to you. 30 seconds, so we'll come back from the break. I'm going to take you to Dallas when we come back.
Right, and I say all the time, as a 120-pound female, my gun is my great equalizer. And and the liberals say, what are you afraid of? And I say, well, absolutely nothing.
Right.
Because I'm not walking around terrified. I'm walking around trained and prepared. And I think that's every American's responsibility.
I couldn't agree more. Ryan Petty, I know you have another podcast that you're going to be doing at the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you, brother, for being here. We appreciate it very much. I appreciate you jumping in here on a breaking news day here in real time with us. That's Ryan Petty. You know him as now a new member of the Armed American Radio Roundtable. He's part of the regular crew. We'll be back with Lee Wamsgans from Patriot Mobile right after this. Don't go away.
This segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Daniel Defense. Visit DanielDefense.com. Now, back to the show.
Yes, back to the show. Mark Walters, Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues right now here in the Sig Sauer studios. Mark Walters in front of the Patriot Mobile, very powerful platinum microphone, and it's all, of course, being brought to you by the great X Insurance. X Insurance, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just sponsored Tony Stewart, who just won his first his Top Fuel Dragster race. Greg, you and I were talking about that yesterday, but that was Tony Stewart, huge NASCAR driver. I've been a fan of Tony Stewart's for a number of years, and NASCAR driver owner. X Insurance is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to check them out. All right, guys, welcome back. Lee Wamsgans, welcome back to the program. Looks like we're going to make it through this hour without any malicious attack. My fingers are crossed. You never know, but we're doing the best that we possibly can. Lee, welcome back in. Now, I do have some more news, again, breaking during this break because this is unfolding in real time for us, ladies and gentlemen. But the suspect has been identified now at FSU. I will not mention his name, but he is a 20-year-old FSU student, and he also, Lee, happens to be the son of a Leon County, Florida deputy. And I want to point out that Tallahassee, where FSU is located, is in Leon County and is, in fact, the Leon County seat. So this is not good all the way around. What a mess. And Lee, I have to go back to the evil thing again. What is it that you think people cannot understand about evil? Why do they refuse to believe that it's real when all you've got to do is turn on a television set, pick up your phone, read a website, if you get a newspaper, whatever it is? Why don't people understand this?
How about reading the Bible? That'd be a good start.
There's a start, right?
Yeah, we know how this ends, but we know that evil is definitely, alive and well in the world today, and to not realize that is just really not living in reality. I think that's maybe some sort of a psychosis or some kind of a mental illness to not acknowledge that good and evil exists in the world. I was going to a kid's many years ago, about 10 years ago now. A bunch of parents were in my car, and I needed something out of my glove box, and my SUV was full, and I asked a lady sitting next to me, I said, "Hey, I need you to grab that paper out of my glove box. I'm just going to prepare you before you open that glove box. I have a gun in there." And she goes, "Why do you have a gun?"
Yeah.
Keep in mind, we're on our way to a field trip from a Christian school. And I said, well, because God tells us that good and evil exists in this world, and evil is very real, and I'm prepared to take care of myself and my family. And she just kind of looked at me, and it seemed to register. It seemed to register too. She was a grandma. But I guess, I've been raised with this. My dad was a police officer. I've been shooting since I was 6 years old. I came to work for this company, Patriot Mobile, due in large part to the fact that they're so serious about the Second Amendment, right, that Patriot Mobile made it one of our 4 pillars of giving. At Patriot Mobile, we've got Gadsden flags all over the place. We support NRA, Gun Owners America, National Association of Rights, women's gun rights, Women for Gun Rights. We are very serious. Again, we're the only wireless provider fighting for your Second Amendment rights. And we know that the Second Amendment is our constitutional republic's best tool to rebel against tyranny and oppression. And, we know the Second Amendment reinforces the rule of law and fights back against tyranny by ensuring the government cannot disarm American citizens.
And I know you agree with me. I'll make this statement. It's almost rhetorical, but the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, is that Patriot Mobile gets it. You get it. We get it. I get it. And sadly, some people don't get it, Lee, until it's too late, until evil actually visits them, and then they realize it might have been a little bit too late. But support for the Second Amendment is support in the battle against evil, because it gives us the opportunity, provides us the opportunity to combat evil in advance of its attack on us. And it's just one of those tools that we have at our disposal. My gosh. And, I've talked to, and I've written books about it. I've interviewed countless people, Lee, who sadly just did not want to deal with evil. It's almost like it's a psychological defense mechanism, right? If we don't think about it, it won't visit us. It's not real. It's not going to happen to me until it does, Lee, until it does.
Right.
And I've talked to countless people who, when it does visit them, they come around and they think, good heavens, now I get it, right? Patriot Mobile gets that, ladies and gentlemen. This is the type of business you want to do business with. They understand it, and they fight on your behalf. I'll let you take it.
In every circumstance, civilian disarmament via gun registration and licensing is always followed by banning and confiscation of firearms. Confiscation of firearms is the mechanism of oppression. And like the National Socialists of Nazi Germany, the communists of the former Soviet Union, the fascist states like Italy was under Mussolini, and like Red China, gun registration is a gateway to confiscation that has been preceded by genocide. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in America, whether it's your local town council, city council, school board, county commissioner seat, state representatives, or the federal government, you need to know that it can happen here. There are forces that, as I said earlier in the show, two different kinds of forces. One is the evil, tyrannic forces that want to disarm Americans so they can change Americans from citizens to subjects. And then there's that other population that group calls useful idiots, that they use to enforce their gun control and disarm citizens. And like you said, the gun policies already passed they don't stop bad guys. Laws don't stop evil.
Yeah, and it really is astonishing to me that somebody would put a tweet out like that and not see the irony in what they just put out. The failure. They just highlighted the failure of what it is they were talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, I know we've got about a minute left here, but I do want to point out that Patriot Mobile is engaged in your fight against evil. How? By your support for the Second Amendment. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Satan wants you disarmed. It's pretty much that simple. Because when you're disarmed, Satan's minions can't get away with what they want to get away with. I'm holding a Patriot Mobile phone activated right here, ladies and gentlemen, in my hands, and you can do the same thing. Lee, tell people where they can go to visit Patriot Mobile and support you for supporting them and their gun rights, all of us.
Absolutely. PatriotMobile.com is the best place to go. You can use the your promo code, which is AAR, that gets you a free month. And, we are responsible for our budget and the money we spend. Let's make sure the money that we are spending on everything we do, and everyone has a cell phone, let's make sure that our cell phone bills are supporting our freedoms, not taking them away. Patriot Mobile does that. I know your listeners understand and appreciate the Second Amendment, and we want your listeners to join us. Go to PatriotMobile.com and use your
30
AAR.
Oh, that was spot on, and I'll let that rest right there. But, Lee, I'll be seeing you in less than 10 days, I believe, or right around 10 days in Atlanta at the National Rifle Association. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be there, make sure to stop by. Say hi to myself. Say hi to Lee. You can shake our paw while we're there. And there is more breaking news. I want to close out with this, Lee, real quick before I let you go. And that is, it looks like the shooter used his mother's gun. So this news is coming across our screens. It's awful all the way around, and it will continue to break. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Lee Wambsgans, Patriot Mobile, thank you so much for your support of our gun rights, your support of Armed American Radio, and more importantly, your support of good versus evil, because it's real, ladies and gentlemen, and they get it. If you're going to be in Atlanta for the National Rifle Association annual meetings, come see me at the Patriot Mobile booth. Meet Lee, meet the rest of the fine folks at Patriot. Shake my paw. Would love to hook up with you guys. Lee Wambsgans, Patriot Mobile, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, the promo code is AAR. As you heard Lee say, you get a free month by activating a phone just like this, like I did. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, ladies and gentlemen, is going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. That's why we're here. Vicious attacks on us or not, it doesn't matter. We will power through it every single day. Until we meet on the radio tomorrow, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you on the radio tomorrow.